Well, what are we fixing today? Well, today I'm showing you my version of controlling my garage door. I'm using a variation on something I found in the Tasmota docs. What was there didn't exactly fit my needs, so it's Home Assistant, it's Tasmota. We just roll our own. Let's go. Well, here's our project for today. As you can see, I have a blog article about it, and in this case I did that first before I did the video because all of the stuff I did was kind of offline, experimenting, trying this, trying that. So I tried probably 4 or 5 different methods before I came up with this. I was running into issues where it would take too long for the switches to contact Tasmota. And I found a good solution that has the least amount of interaction with HA or anything else. It only talks to the Wi-Fi and the broker. So otherwise it was going to the broker, to a Python program, to HA, to binary sensor, to, it was going through a lot of stuff in some of my iterations. I think I found the quickest one. This is the issue where somebody came up with this. This is their solution. This is similar to mine, except mine is different. I have some other things going on my Sonoff SV, but I do also have a Sonoff SV. So here's where this is the stuff that you should do right here. Set the switch modes. Well, you need switch mode 1. And this stuff doing would switch 1. Power cycle, power on state. So those should all be probably set up. I don't have them in my description. You can get them here. These I think are defaults, and if not, I don't remember changing them. So here's I can turn on the rolls, make them one shot. This should be all default stuff, and we'll get into more of this later. But this code is what I worked off of. This setup on here in this Git repository from Tasmota has to do with using switches. This is a physical switch that they used. I didn't have the GPIO pins, or why should I buy them and have them shipped in? So I changed all this stuff. So, but I did use the basic concept of how it's being switched. I just changed the switches. As we go through here, we'll just kind of go through the article as it's going. I got some talking here and there. I wanted to show you this here is a prior YouTube and article about this same Sonoff SV. This stuff is also hooked in there. That's why I don't have the GPIOs available to do the optical switches. So the link to this is in there if you want to see this. YouTube video is also there. You can watch that. I'll link it in the description somewhere and on top. I'm using these sensors. This basically magic strip for golden security, whatever. This number here, you can search Amazon, eBay, all over. These are sold a lot of places. You can get them in bulk. This is GearBest in there for $4. I don't think I paid more than $4 for mine, and I got them by the dozen. So I have all kinds of them in my house, all over. They run through RF433 and the Sonoff bridge. You want to do all that setup and stuff. I have a link here from Dr. Z's. Link is also in the description of how he set it up, and I think it's more or less still valid. And later, when we talk about the thing that you will need from the switches, is getting the codes. And if you go to 2 minutes 45 seconds into his video, he shows you where to get the codes from. You open up the web UI console and you move the switch back and forth and you watch the video, but that's how you get the codes that you need. Okay. So what I ended up doing is putting some rules on the RF bridge and some rules on the Tasmota, and that takes care of all the decisions on is the door open, closed, should I open it, should I close it, all that kind of stuff. If you read through all the text here, I show you what the rules are. I give you a link here to copy the rules out, to paste into your web UI of your, in this case, the bridge, and down here, in this case, the Sonoff SV. You copy them here, copy and copy. But this is what the rules are, and I go through an explanation as to what they do. The important thing to remember is there are 4 variables in this setup. Variables are wrote and read to memory, so they don't really hurt your machine. They're not permanently written, so it's not like EEPROM writes. They're just memory. And when var 1 is on, only when the door is open. And variable 2 is on only when the door is closed. However, you got variable 3 is when it's opening, and variable 4 when it's closing. When these are being set, they're being set right here. And in all these cases, variable 1 is on and none of the other is variable 2, so that only one of these is on at a time, at any time. And look more in the description to see how how it works. And as always, I'm on Discord. I have my own Discord server. I'm also on Dr. Z's Discord server. If you want to get a hold of me, ping me, page me, DM me. For anything about my videos, I'm there to help. So I want to make things right for you. Well, let's go through the rules. Let me switch. Here I have open Tasmota Device Manager. This is an awesome piece of kit. It's a little bit dated, and I think the authors need to update it a bit, because there's some things that aren't with the current rev. For instance, we go to rules. Let's look at the rules I have for the Sonoff bridge. Isn't this awesome how you can edit them and it makes sense? If you look over here, this is what the rule string looks like when you have to paste it in. And if you're trying to troubleshoot this, that's intimidating. Here I am inside my garage, and you can see this is one of the sensors. If you look straight over that way, there's the other sensor. So when the door is all the way that way, closed, that magnet senses, that sensor senses the magnet and says, okay, it's closed. When it starts to move up, it gets the opening command, and as it comes all the way up here, it gets the open command. And then when you tell it to move again, the only place it can go is down, so it changes from the open command to closing command. It moves that way until it gets down and says closed. So those are the 2 sensors. Those sensors are connected to my RF bridge hanging here. It also takes care of other sensors in this outbuilding. My house is over there, so this is my outbuilding. I've done videos with this before. You can see this is the Sonoff SV. That's the garage door one, but it also has an input from the PIR, and it also has an input from a temperature sensor. So all my pins are pretty much used up on it. That's why I had to go a different route. These are the codes that it puts out. So when one of the codes happens, when the switch switches that, then it says, okay, now the door is closed. And when the switch flips that from on to off or whatever here, goes to this one. It says, okay, so the door was closed, right? And when it starts to open, that switch opens, and then this other, I can't point at anything, but this other thing comes on here, and it says it's opening. When it gets all the way to the top, the other switch pops on and gives it this code, and it says it's opened, and then goes the other way. It says, okay, now I want to close it. When you push the close button, it moves, the sensor changes, flips to this and says closing, and it'll hold that closing until this one pops on and it's closed. So that's how this works. These codes are sent out from the RF bridge, and they're published with retain, which is important. You need to retain because then whenever the Sonoff SV reboots and starts up again, the broker will notice the retain, and it will send the last code sent to the device, so that then the Sonoff device matches the actual door positions. So it's self-fixing. So you can reboot this thing, and it'll come back and say, oh, it's supposed to be opening, and then the opening will come on, and it'll set the tabs for opening, and away you go. Nice, right? These are the rules on the garage door. Right now it's in the closed position, and I can only open it. That's the way that works. Right now I can see that the door close sensor is on, which means that the door is closed. This is open, stop, and close. And that matches up with open, stop, and close. And you can see what happens here. When these commands come in, it says tell power 1 to do whatever variable 2 is. And this one's tell power 1 to do whatever variable 1 is. What's going to happen is if you tell it to open and it's already open, it won't let it go. But if it's closed, it'll let it go. So that's what's going on here. And if you tell it to close and it's already closed, it won't move. But if you tell it to close and it's open, it'll move. Now, when you're working from from HA, your button is disabled or it's enabled, and it works, right? But if you're doing it from voice control, that like close is always enabled. So way my thing used to be, I could always say, a famous search engine, close the garage door, and it didn't matter if it was open or closed or stopped. It would just push the button and it would just move. And so whatever locking and encoding was in there, it didn't matter, because no matter what you said, what you told the door to do, it would just open or close as whatever was next. The event stop is done this way: power 1 variable 3, power 1 variable 2, and then stop. This is in here to decide, this helps it decide if it's already up, and if it's going up and you push the button, then it won't do this one and that one or whatever. There's some logic in there which I don't actually completely understand, but that's the way it goes. Let's look at rule 2. So here's rule 2, and you can see these first 4 are when the event opened, closed, opening, or closing, which is the things coming from coming from here. Closed, opening, open, closing. When these commands are sent to garage door command event, it gets to here, and depending on which one is triggered, it sets the switches accordingly and sends out a P state, which is the state of the switch. This is published to garage door stat state. This value here is what's pulled in when that event happens here. So that is sent out to HA and says, okay, well, this is the state. So the state can be open, closed, opening, closing, and then over here, if it's opening and closing, it sets the variables accordingly, FAR 3 or FAR 4, but it also starts a rule timer. Right now the rule timer is set to 15 seconds. You may have to change this. It needs to be longer than the door normally opens. My door opens in about 13 and a half seconds. The default in the GitHub was 15. I just left it at 15. It seems to work fine. But you want this to be longer than the time that it normally takes to flip to open or close from when you start it. In other words, the traverse time for opening and closing, you want this to be just a little bit longer than that. Otherwise, it'll time out and it'll go into stop mode. This is like if something gets in the way or the door tries to come down and sees the sensor and pops up and does some weird stuff. This does a stop on the automation stuff here. Now, want to see it work? Let's look at the web UI. See how nice this tool is? You can just pull up the web UI from it. Let's see. There it goes. Open up the console. That's the console. Now you can see what happens as it happens. TDM is going to throw some junk in here once in a while. But let's go over to here. Let's watch what happens. Now you're going to watch over here next to my head. You can see what the two switches do. And I'm going to go that way. And now I'm going to do open the door. Watch over here. Boom, it says opening. The switches have changed. Over here the switches have changed and now it says opening. When it gets to the top, bing, just kicked on and then it says open. So now the door is open. Neat, huh? Let's look back at our other screen. Hopefully I can catch it in time. This is what this looked like. This is where we were before. And I hit open. Open performs power 1-1 because open was enabled. It does the power, the event is done, and then all of a sudden it gets the event opening when that switch switches. It sets up the variables, it sets up the rule timer, and it's done. And then it publishes opening to HA, and then HA put that little arrow up blue thing in there. Alright? And of course it's retained. It's important, notice that this published to state is also retained, and that's so that when HA boots, it will pull the status of the zone off that was pushed in from here. So it will know the status of the door when HA boots. So retain is your friend in these cases. The door switch is on a couple second timer at this point. Let's see how many seconds. 28 to 33, so it's on like a 5-second timer, and the switch turns off and the event's done. It keeps going until the switch came back with an opened event from the read switch. It sets those things up and it sends out state open to HA, and it sits where it is now. Boom, boom, boom. See how it goes? And it goes very quickly. No delay at all. Just got to go through the broker and Wi-Fi, which is pretty darn quick. Now I'm going to do it from over here. You can't see it, but I'm going to leave this up, and you can watch the whole sequence as it closes. Push the close button. Power on, move, closing, set the command. Published closing to HA, so a little down arrow is on the screen on HA. Boom, it's closed. Sets the switches so that it allows it to open and not close, and it's done. Works pretty slick, right? If you have any issues or problems with this, and if you want some, you want to talk about it, I'm always available on Discord. Check out my links down below for Discord. I'd love to hear, love for you to be a Discord buddy with me, and let's get something going. You can help me out by becoming a Patreon or subscriber. Give me a like. Like it's good. Like in the column. Hit the button down there. It's very easy. Subscribe, hitting the bell. It's all good. Till next time. Happy opening your door.